Hey y'all, I'm going to be working on my purple journal today. I'm going to be adding in some lace and trims, and I'm going to start on the inside cover here along this edge. I have some vintage ruffled lace trim that I got from one of my mamas. It's really pretty. It's really delicate. I'm going to put this along this edge, and I'm going to be using Eileen's tacky glue. Okay, this is what it looks like from the outside. Now, when I'm adding in laces and trims and ribbons and eyelets and things, I tend to skip around in the journal. So I won't be doing this page by page per se. So I'll just be skipping around. I'm going to go ahead and add a piece of trim to the edge of the back cover as well. This is a lace trim, also ruffled, but it is not nearly as delicate as the other piece that I used. I want to put some trim along this triangle pocket, but I have to remember that this whole piece does fold completely out so that you have hidden writing space, and then it folds back up to form the pockets. And so I just want to put some trim right along the edge of this triangle. And I have some purple rickrack that I'm going to use. Okay, cute little addition. Okay, now I want to add a pull tab to the top of this large journaling card. I have a strip of white cotton fabric. I'm just going to cut a piece of that off. And then I have this wide purple lace. This is the same lace that I used on the spine on the front cover. And I'm going to cut a piece of that off as well. I'm going to layer these, and the reason why is that purple lace is so thin and so light colored that I was afraid it wouldn't show up very much. So if I put the white fabric behind it, you can see the details of that purple lace better. So I will just fold this over from front to back, and I will be stitching this on. So I'm not going to be using any glue, but I will stitch this on. Okay, on to another page in the book. And I have this green lace trim. I'm just going to glue this along this page edge. Now, because this is such a thin trim, I will be spreading that glue out. And then after I get the lace in place where I want it, I will take one of my little shop towels and press down all across the top of that lace to lift up any excess glue that might be showing through the little holes in the lace. And then on the opposite page, I'll be adding this purple lace trim. And I'll be doing the same with that because, again, it is a thin lace. I also want this piece of trim to hang out over the edge of the page just a little bit to show the scallop. So I'll lift the page up to make sure that I can see the scallop from the other side. On this page, I'm going to be using this piece of floral lace from Crafty Me Shop. And I glued this on where the loops on the right side just barely went over the edge. For this page, I picked a piece of that purple scalloped lace. Again, I will glue this one where the scalloped edge hangs over as well. I should have mentioned this earlier. I'm using that old book cover as a book board and putting it under the pages as I'm gluing the fabric and lace and things onto the edges, because it just gives me a hard surface to push against to make sure that I can keep those pages flat, and also allows me to put glue on the very edge without accidentally gluing several pages of the journal together in the process. Now, I chose this purple ribbon for this page. Now, this is a piece of ribbon that I actually split in half. So I'm still not sure about this piece, so I'm going to pass it up for now and go on to another page. Here I'm going to add that green thin lace to the left side, and I'm going to put a piece of the purple rickrack on the right side. Now, after I trim the end off of that rickrack, I will come back and put a little dot of glue on the end of each tip to keep that rickrack from unraveling. This is another piece of that ribbon that I split in half, and I'm still not sure about it, but I'm going to go ahead and add a piece of lace to the top of this notebook. I do come up with the solution for that ribbon later on. And then I have some more of that white cotton fabric and another piece of that wide thin purple lace, and I will stitch this onto the cover of this notebook. And I'm going to go ahead and go on to another page. I have a piece of corded trim. This is braided cording. It's green and has a very, very light cream center running through it. And I'm just going to glue this along the page edge. Just adds a pop of that green color to the page. And on that large journaling card on the left, I just cut a piece of this ribbon, folded it in half, front to back, and I will stitch across that one as well. And then I decided to add some rickrack to this triangle pocket to match the pocket on the back cover. And this one also folds out into a full sheet so that you have additional writing space and hidden writing spot. Now this little tag, I'm going to add an eyelet to it. And then I have a little piece of thin green ribbon, little satin ribbon that I'm going to add to that. So I'm going to push my loop through. Hold that loop open and push the two ends through the center of that loop. Then I'll trim them how I want them to look. I trimmed that cording, and now I'm just going to put a little dot of glue on each end of that cording to keep it from unraveling. Okay, on this page, I'm going to stitch this ribbon onto this tag. And then I'm going to take this piece of Crafty Me Shop trim and put it across the top of this pocket. Now I will come back and share the results after I get through stitching everything, but I'm going to glue as much as I possibly can and then stop and go to my sewing machine and do all the stitching. So on to another page. And I have this beautiful piece of trim from Crafty Me Shop. And I'll hold it up to the camera where you can see. It has little embroidered roses. And I'm just going to put this on the left page edge. Okay, find another spot to work on. Okay, I took a break from gluing things and I did some of the stitching. So on this large journal card, I got this ribbon stitched on. So I have a pull tab for that now. And then that ribbon I couldn't decide on, I embroidered on. This was a whole piece of ribbon and I split it in half down the middle. Let me show you. Okay, this is what the ribbon looked like before I tore it. And I just cut a slit and ripped it in half. And then I took it to my sewing machine and embroidered some leaves, a string of leaves on it. And so now I'll take these and I will glue these to a few page edges. And then I also wanted this decorative edge, the little scalloped looped edge, to stick out over the edge of the page. And I did go ahead and stitch those leaves in green thread to pull out some of the green in the book. And I also stitched the tab onto that little notebook. Here's another piece of that same ribbon, and I'll just glue it along this page edge as well. Here I took a piece of satin ribbon that was pretty tattered. I tore it down and then stitched it into a ruffle. And I'm going to glue it across the top of this pocket. I also stitched the tab onto this tag and added the ribbon onto this tag, stitched it, and added some rickrack to this edge of this pocket. For the edge of this journaling card, I chose some purple rickrack. Now I'm calling this a journaling card because it will be removable. You can open it up and journal in it. Maybe a pamphlet might be a better description. And then I am planning on making some altered paper clips and clipping those into the journal. I stitched that ribbon to that tag. Here's another piece of that embroidered ribbon, and I'll glue this to this page edge as well. Okay, on this page, I want to make a pocket or tuck spot. So I'm going to turn that little tag into a tuck spot. And I'm just going to take my corner rounder because my music paper is round on that bottom right edge. So I took my corner rounder and I rounded that little tag. And I did stitch the ribbon to the top of it. And now I'm just going to put some glue on the bottom and across the side and glue it down and make a little tuck spot. Okay, now I'll take my flashcard that I decoupaged with napkin and stitched around and backed, and then my large journaling card that I did go ahead and stitch that lace tab to the top to, and those will just fit into that tuck spot. And I didn't give it enough time to dry, so I will need to let that dry because those two cards are kind of heavy, especially the flash card. It's a little bit heavy for that little tag to still be wet, so I need to wait for it to dry and then I can tuck those into place. So I decided to go ahead and add some quilting clips to it to hold it in place where it would dry exactly where I wanted it to. And I get those at Dollar Tree. I think a 6-pack for $1.25. Well worth it. I also stitched a ribbon pull tab on this journaling card. And then also here, I stitched a piece of ribbon. I made a ruffle out of it. This is the ribbon I started with. It was wide, and I split it in half, made some ruffles, and then I glued a ruffle to that journaling card. There's the other side. And it just slides back into that pocket. And then I also sewed the pull tab onto this large journaling card